The silver tray slipped slightly in Elena's hands as her mother's voice cut across the dining room like a command. "Elena, dear, why don't you serve everyone? You're already standing." The hum of polite conversation stilled, and 20 pairs of eyes swiveled toward her. Cassandra's colleagues from the law firm, Aunt Marjorie's country club friends, all dressed in evening gowns and suits worth more than Elena's car, turned their gaze expectantly. Elena's back stiffened, the fork she'd been holding poised to tap her water glass. She hadn't stood to serve. She had risen to announce her promotion to creative director. The words she'd rehearsed so carefully on the drive over froze in her throat. Her sister Cassandra smirked, reclining in her chair like a queen holding court. She raised her wine glass and said smoothly, "Yes, Elena, do serve us. You've always been so practical." The word hung in the air like an insult, followed by a ripple of laughter that was polite enough to sting. Elena's mother, Marion, pressed the silver tray toward her as though it were a weapon. "Since you're not contributing much else to this celebration," she added in a low voice that was loud enough for nearby guests to hear. The china rattled, heavy with catered dishes Elena had nothing to do with preparing. Daniel's hand found hers under the table, his thumb pressing a familiar signal into her palm. Their code for "I'm here." "Hold steady." His dark eyes met hers, and she saw a dangerous flare of anger behind his calm expression. Elena's pulse thudded in her ears. She was 32 years old, a professional in her own right, and still her family expected her to play the servant. Her name was Elena Harper, and she was done shrinking. This night was supposed to be about her promotion, a corner office, a team of 15, recognition she had fought hard to earn. Instead, it was another stage for her family's hierarchy. "I wasn't standing to serve," Elena said, steadying her voice. "I was about to make an announcement." She set the tray down on the sideboard, the plates clinking against one another. Aunt Marjorie clicked her tongue as though chastising a child. "Announcements after dinner, dear. Protocol." She snapped her fingers toward the tray. "The duck is getting cold." Cassandra chuckled softly, swirling her wine. "Always dramatic," she murmured. The laughter spread again, a wave of amusement at Elena's expense. Elena gripped the back of her chair, her knuckles whitening. Before she could speak, Daniel pushed his chair back, the scrape echoing sharply in the hush. He stood tall, his voice firm. Elena was promoted to creative director today. She beat out 17 other candidates. The CEO personally called her to congratulate. His words carried across the long table, silencing the laughter. Cassandra's smile faltered for the first time, her glass lowering. Marion's recovery was swift. "That's nice, dear," she said with a dismissive wave. "Now, let's eat before the food gets cold." "It's more than nice," Elena said, her voice breaking free from the years of swallowed words. "It's the very position Cassandra told me last Christmas I'd never qualify for." The words escaped like a spark catching dry wood. Cassandra's smirk froze, then hardened. "I was being realistic, Elena," she said smoothly, her tone sweet poison. "Not everyone is cut out for leadership." "I've spent my entire life being realistic for this family," Elena replied, her voice steady but sharp. "I've planned your parties, edited your speeches, designed your wedding invitations. All while you reminded me I wasn't enough." Her gaze swept the table, seeing startled faces, hearing only the crack of something long suppressed finally breaking open. "Tonight, I wanted to celebrate with my family, but I see now that was unrealistic." Daniel's hand brushed her back, steadying her again. "Let's go," he murmured. Cassandra laughed lightly, though her eyes glittered. "Dramatic as always. Sit down, both of you. You're embarrassing yourselves." But Elena didn't sit. Not this time. She lifted her chin, feeling Daniel rise beside her. Together they walked down the length of the table, past the elaborate floral arrangements Elena herself had stayed up late perfecting, past the hand-lettered place cards she had crafted. The December air slapped her cheeks as they stepped outside, sharp and bracing. Elena gulped it in like freedom, her chest heaving. "You did it," Daniel said, his voice fierce with pride. She shook her head slightly. "Did what?" "Stop serving them," he replied simply. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. Cassandra's text, "Mom is livid."
Fix this now.
Then Marion. "After everything we've done for you, disgraceful behavior." Aunt Marjorie chimed in. "Always knew you were the difficult one." Poor Cassandra is humiliated. Elena stared at the screen, then shut the phone off. For years she had left those lines open, hoping one day for connection instead of criticism. That night, sleep evaded her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Cassandra's smirk, heard her mother's dismissal. But for once, the images didn't crush her. They fueled her. Daniel stroked her hair, whispering, "They'll call tomorrow. They always do. And they'll expect you to apologize." Elena's answer came with surprising certainty. "Not this time," she whispered. "I won't." 3 days passed. No calls, no texts, no apology demands. The silence was so unusual it felt heavy, like waiting for a storm. On the 4th morning, an email arrived, not to her personal account but to her professional website. It was from Cassandra. "Family dinner, Thursday, 7 p.m. Morton Steakhouse. Mom says your attendance is non-negotiable." Elena showed it to Daniel, who read it twice. "Are you going?" he asked. She folded her arms, considering. "Yes," she said finally, "but not to apologize." Thursday evening, Morton's glowed with polished wood and golden lamps. Cassandra was in her territory, the place she brought clients, where the staff greeted her by name. Elena had chosen her sharp-shouldered blazer, one that made her feel armored. Daniel wore the silver watch she'd given him after her promotion. As they walked in, they saw Marion, Cassandra, and Marjorie waiting at a central table, backs against the wall, facing the entrance like a tribunal. "You're late," Marion said sharply. Elena checked her watch.
No.
"We're exactly on time." Marjorie sighed dramatically. "Let's not start with attitude, Elena. We're here to sort things out like adults." Daniel pulled out her chair, resting his hand on her shoulder before sitting beside her. Cassandra leaned forward, eyes glittering. "Your behavior last weekend was embarrassing and childish. You owe us an apology." Elena took a slow sip of water, then set the glass down. "I'm not here to apologize," she said calmly. "I'm here to establish new boundaries." "Boundaries?" Marion's eyebrows shot up. "With family? Don't be ridiculous." Elena inhaled deeply, her nerves steady now. "That's exactly the problem. You don't see me as someone deserving of respect. You see me as an extension of yourselves, useful when you need something, invisible when you don't." Cassandra scoffed. "Oh, please. You're not some victim, Elena. We've supported you through every middling achievement." The word middling landed like a slap. "Middling," Elena repeated slowly. She let it hang. "That's what you called my scholarship to RSD. My first art show. My wedding. Nothing I do is ever enough for you, is it?" Marion flushed red, her hand gripping her wine glass. "We've always wanted what's best for you." Elena leaned forward. "No, you've always wanted what's best for Cassandra. I was the backup, the support system, the one who made everyone else look good." Marjorie pressed her lips thin, clearly irritated. "This is preposterous." "I'm grateful for what you've given me," Elena continued, her voice even. "But I'm not grateful for what you've taken, my confidence, my voice, my right to celebrate my own success." Cassandra laughed lightly. "Always melodramatic. Creative director isn't exactly changing the world." Daniel's voice cut through, calm but firm. "It changed hers. And that should matter to people who claim to love her." The table stilled. Even the waiter approaching sensed the tension. "Are you ready to order?" he asked cautiously. "No," Elena said firmly, placing her napkin down. "We won't be staying." She stood, smoothing her blazer, her voice ringing steady. "I didn't come for dinner. I came to say this. I'm done serving you. I'm done shrinking. I'm done apologizing for taking up space." Marion blinked in disbelief. "You can't just—" "I can," Elena cut in. "And I am." Daniel stood with her, his presence like a shield. Cassandra's composure cracked. "If you walk away now, don't expect things to go back to normal." Elena smiled faintly. "That's the point. They left the steakhouse together, ignoring the stares of strangers at nearby tables. Outside, the city lights glimmered across rain-slick pavement. Elena felt tears prick her eyes, but they weren't of weakness. They were of release. "You okay?" Daniel asked softly. She nodded, laughing through the tears. "Better than okay." Back home, the silence continued. But unlike before, it wasn't suffocating. It was peaceful. For the first time, Elena's days weren't consumed by their demands. She threw herself into work. Her new team was energized by her leadership. They brainstormed late into the night, tested new design strategies, and launched a campaign that doubled client engagement. Her boss mentioned expansion, bigger budgets, and hinted at a regional office. At home, Daniel found her painting again, something she had abandoned years earlier after Cassandra mocked her work as derivative. One evening, surrounded by canvases, Elena looked up as Daniel leaned on the doorframe. "You look different," he said. "Different how?" she asked. "Like someone who stopped waiting for permission to exist." 3 months passed. Elena flourished at work, grew stronger at home, and felt lighter each day without her family's constant criticism. She began leading workshops at the local art center, mentoring young designers. She saw glimpses of the life she had always wanted, a life where she could create without apology. Then one afternoon, an envelope arrived. Glossy, thick, formal. An invitation to Cassandra's firm's annual charity gala. Her name was listed boldly, Elena Harper, creative director. For the first time, she was invited not as someone's sister, but as herself. Elena studied the invitation carefully. Cassandra must have heard about her award-winning campaign through their cousin, who followed her on LinkedIn. The family grapevine never truly died. "Are you going?" Daniel asked when he saw her turning the envelope over and over. Elena hesitated, then nodded.
Yes.
But not as Cassandra's sister. As myself. 2 weeks later, she dressed in a simple black gown she had designed herself, tailored to fit like armor. Daniel slipped his arm through hers as they entered the Weston ballroom. The ballroom sparkled with chandeliers, ice sculptures, and the gentle strains of a string quartet. Cassandra stood near the entrance with Marian and Marjorie, greeting guests. The three of them looked like royalty, surveying their court. Cassandra's eyes widened slightly when she saw Elena. "Elena," she said smoothly, masking surprise. "You came." Elena smiled politely. "I was invited." Marian's face softened awkwardly. "You look well." "I am well," Elena replied. "Better than I've been in a long time." Marjorie's gaze slid disapprovingly over Elena's simple gown. "You could have made more of an effort for Cassandra's event," she remarked. Daniel squeezed Elena's hand under the table, but Elena only smiled. "Actually, I designed this dress myself," she said. "The fashion editor from the Tribune just asked where she could buy one." Marjorie blinked. Cassandra's eyes narrowed. "You're designing clothes now?" Elena shrugged lightly. "Among other things. My team also won the Hermes Award for our digital campaign last month." Recognition flickered across Cassandra's face. "That was your work?" "It's been in all the industry journals." For the first time in Elena's life, she saw something unfamiliar in her sister's eyes, respect, however reluctant. Marian cleared her throat. "Perhaps you could tell us about it over lunch this weekend." It wasn't an apology, nor acknowledgement of the years of dismissal. But it was something. A crack in the perfect facade. A door left slightly ajar. "I'm free Sunday," Elena said. "But I should warn you, I don't serve lunch anymore." Cassandra's lips twitched, almost forming a smile. "Noted." Later, as Daniel and Elena moved through the glittering ballroom, strangers greeted her, colleagues congratulated her, and she felt the weight of years of invisibility fall away. Daniel leaned close. "So that's it? Peace treaty. Signed." Elena shook her head. "Not exactly. But maybe a new beginning. On my terms this time." The string quartet began a hopeful piece, and Daniel tugged her gently toward the dance floor. As he pulled her close, his voice murmured against her hair. "You know what the real victory is, right?" "What?" she whispered. That you didn't need their approval to feel complete. You already were. She rested her head against his shoulder, the music carrying them. He was right. The true revenge wasn't making them see her worth, it was seeing it herself. That Sunday lunch arrived, and Marian tried to slip back into old patterns, criticizing Elena's career choices. But Elena calmly set another boundary. I love what I do. You don't have to approve. You just have to respect it. Cassandra stayed quiet, observing. Marjorie muttered, but eventually fell silent. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Elena left that lunch lighter, no longer bound by guilt. The weeks turned into months. Elena thrived at work, her campaigns featured in industry magazines. She launched a side project designing clothing, which gained attention online. Daniel remained her constant partner, celebrating each step forward. She still saw her family occasionally, but she walked into every encounter taller, unshaken. They could no longer shrink her with a single word. One evening, Daniel and Elena celebrated their anniversary with a quiet dinner at home. Candles flickered across the table, their laughter filling the room. You know, he said, pouring her a glass of wine, I don't think you realize how far you've come. That night you walked out of your mother's dining room, you didn't just leave the table. You left their control behind. Elena smiled, tears warming her eyes. And I'll never go back. Later that night, she stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. She thought of her mother's voice, Cassandra's smirk, Marjorie's sighs, all the years of being told she wasn't enough. They had tried to keep her small, to bind her to their shadows. But she had broken free. The real freedom wasn't in proving them wrong, it was in no longer needing to. Daniel joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist. To us, he whispered. Elena nodded, whispering back. To freedom. The following spring, Elena's